Hi, welcome back to my garden. Over the last few weeks, I've been talking about a lot of related themes, changing our behaviour and confronting our fears, the sort of deep-rooted ideas that stop us moving forward in our lives. If this sounds ominously like some sort of personal development video, well, I make no apologies. I guess it is. And I think we need to develop ourselves personally. The idea that we can stay as we are, keep things just as it is, nice and comfortable, forever. Well, that is undoubtedly an illusion. Change is going to confront us, whether we like it or not. It's probably some sort of, not mystical, but underlying social law, if not a physical law, a kind of social entropy. And we have to deal with that. And the only way, it seems to me, to deal with it is by being in a kind of perpetual state of renewal. And that is at the heart of personal development. And the reason we don't do it is because on some level we are afraid of something or worried about something, or maybe in gentler terms, just don't like the look of it. Perhaps one of them is the idea that when we look at personal development, change, I think very often we know deep down that it's not going to be a one-off and then everything's dandy. That we're signing up for something that is going to be a sort of long, hard slog that has rather a lot of the Sisyphus myth in it. You know, we're going to be pushing that stone up the hill forever. Let's try and put this in concrete terms. Imagine you have a drink or substance problem of some sort. Well, you probably know deep down that it's not something you're going to beat once. Maybe you think that's the case the first time round, but eventually you realize that, for example, becoming a teetotal, confronting alcoholism, that is a lifelong struggle. And it's clearly a lifelong struggle. You're not going to beat it and then it's gone away. The demons are put back into the box and you can just carry on living your life as normal. Every day you wake up and you have to confront it anew. I mean, I don't think I ever really dealt with that. But I did deal with the issue of weight. It wasn't surprising. I like nice food. I like a beer or two and enjoying myself, and exercise maybe not quite as much. And there have been various moments in my life where, for whatever reasons, very often the first starting point of a crumbling exercise regime has been injury of some sort, and the weight kind of piles on, and I discover myself in a place where I'm just a wee bit larger than I wanted to be. And on a number of occasions I tackled this issue using a very interesting diet, the rotation diet, by a once upon a time fatty, and let's not pull our punches, Dr. Harvey Katan. I think he might have been a psychiatric doctor rather than a medical doctor. And at the heart, the rotation diet involves a 3-week commitment. And you do a sort of rotation of calorie reduction. The idea is that you have these little bursts of really reduced calorie reduction, 3 days at a time. So you do very, very intense kind of 1,500 rather than 2,000, 2,200 calories. Maybe it's even 1,200. Then you do a sort of a 3 or 4 days of 1,500, and then you do a week on a sort of what will eventually be a closer to your maintenance diet, which is 1,800 calories, and then you repeat the first week again. The concept underlying it is that by doing these very short bursts, you get a very quick success, which kind of cheers you up and motivates you. And you don't allow your metabolism to sort of slow down. And that's one of the problems with weight loss, that your body sort of very quickly adapts. And then when you go back to your old habits, your old previous, prior to the diet, eating regime, well, you do so with a slower metabolism. It sort of doesn't speed up and slow down at the equal rate. And the weight piles back on and you become depressed, and it's a never-ending cycle of misery. And I'd kind of seen that, and certainly something that my mother struggled with all her life. And it was she that put me onto this diet. And I was incredibly successful with it. One of the reasons was I'd do it when I was on holiday in Port Elizabeth as an adult, visiting my parents. It was a sort of a 3-week commitment, and I was able to do that. I was able to make that 3-week commitment. I'm thinking about all of this again because I think sometimes if we go back to a period in our life when something was implemented successfully, what are the lessons that we learn there that applied very much to us, to our own psychological makeup? And can we sort of cunningly repeat them in a new situation? And I think this is an exercise that we can all do. You look back at when you were successful doing something that was difficult, overcoming a problem or developing a new habit. And I think there's usually quite interesting generalizable sort of strategic elements that we can readapt for a new situation. I think of this rotation diet. It was successful because I had a partner in crime, a cheerleader, my mother. She had a vested interest in doing this. She would encourage me to prepare meals around this diet, and she'd sort of give it a go, and whether she was successful or not, at least I wasn't doing it on my own. Another important element to the success of that diet in those periods of my life, and let me just state for the record that it was incredibly successful. I think I did it 3 times, and on all 3 occasions I lost 9 kilograms in the region of, I suppose, 20 pounds for my American friends. And that is a successful diet. Another reason that it was successful was that it was quick and it had an end, a definitive date. You would sign up for it and then you would end. It wasn't Sisyphus. It wasn't an interminable rock that you would push up the mountain and then do it all over again the next day with the knowledge, the sort of daunting, I think this is where fear comes in, is how am I going to do this every day forever? Well, no, the rotation diet was 3 weeks, and only 6 of the 21 days were really tough. So it was something that you could envisage being manageable. And there was an exit strategy. And the week in the middle, you actually found quite enjoyable. It was only 1,800 calories, but in comparison to the week that had come before, it was very pleasant. You felt almost like you were eating banquets and you were rewarding yourselves and you had little treats. So you could see how this could fit into a future life. And of course, another element why I was successful doing this diet was the trim park, as it was called. There was, my parents, towards the end of their time in Port Elizabeth, lived near St George's Park, and there was a 2.2 kilometre circuit around the park where there were 6 stations every 300 or 400 meters. There was an exercise station, a log lift, or you do press ups or things like that. And I would do 3 laps of this trim park at a very, very fast walk. I wasn't even running. It was just a fast walk. And I would do that 3 times a day. And I really got into it. I like walking, and I would think about it. I would sort of time myself. It was a little challenge. But suddenly I realized the first time I'd committed to walking nearly 20 kilometers a day. This was a big commitment. I'd done a serious diet and almost 20 kilometers of a brisk walk with a bit of exercise thrown in. Well, no wonder I'd lost 9 kilograms. But it was manageable. It was manageable because I'd put myself into a circumstance where it worked. And it was manageable because it was clear to me how I could then morph from that extreme situation into my normal life. And so it proved successful. And I've been thinking about that, how can I apply that to some of the challenges that I face right now? What is my rotation diet? I think it's also interesting because at the heart of it is that question: does one dip one's toes into the cold water or dive in at the deep end? And this is a very interesting strategy because it's a bit of toe dipping, and there is also, at a certain point, a dive in at the deep end kind of feeling. And I think if it's doable with weight loss, I think it's probably doable with a lot of the challenges that we face. The trick is thinking about how you are going to sort of package that little game. And it does require management. It requires management of your routine, of the environment around you, of relationships with people that share your life and share that routine with you. Because going on your own, these journeys are obviously a much greater commitment. So there we are. I'm going to give that some thought, and perhaps next week I will let you know what I'm going to rotate at some point in the future. But until then, I trust you're well, your lives are filled with joy, and from, yet again, a slightly overcast Brazil. But we like overcast, because overcast means that the rainy season is still with us, and rain is fantastic. So until next week,